the name on everybody's lips is definitely going to be Leila Jung. So,
Oh,
Leila, it's a pleasure having you on our show. You were fantastic as Roxie Hart. And I wanted to start by asking because I saw you do Girl from the North Country, and now you're doing Chicago. And they are both shows set in the Depression era in the United States. And I wonder what keeps pulling you to that time period and and what have you found that's still like so relevant? Because I love Chicago. Like it's the musical that I have seen the most times in my life. I saw it a million times in New York City. I've seen it in Madrid. I've seen it in Mexico City. Now I've seen it in Malmö. So it's so relevant. Like that musical, it's like it feels like it was written today. So can you talk a little bit about your experience with the timeliness?
I really like been um, thinking of like with the right system in America, and like how that kind of is like a big difference from Sweden, and like and because I was really thinking a lot when I try to understand what we're trying to show with Chicago. I was kind of going through all the thoughts that I had because I'm a really big true crime fan. uh, so I kind of know a lot of like about the right system and how it works like for you guys. So I think like for me it really what I tried to like um, show for everyone is uh, actually what kind of happened back then with the right system, and how it actually is still very relevant. And I think like in Sweden we actually like going further and further towards that, and like we have some cases like that that as a rights as how do you say murder cases and stuff that's gone like very famous, like, and everything like how um you can actually become famous by doing terrible things, and how people actually as a get um aroused by that. Maybe I don't know, that's a good, bad word for it maybe. So that's what I actually when we were talking about the time like and everything, I tried really to have, because I think I always go into like how can I relate to this, how can I understand what I'm trying to show from like the time that we're showing and what we're saying. I think that's what I try to like really get into, and like try to like how do we do this like with the court scene where we're doing this play. And I was always thinking about like O.J. Simpson when he was doing the glove, and like it was too small, and so everything is very like theatric, and uh, yeah, yeah.
I'm very fascinated as a true crime fan then, and like almost like imagining the Roxy Hart and Velma Kelly case as a podcast even, or as a series of stories. Something
Mm.
that I love about Roxy Hart is that she is very funny, but she's also very cruel. And I mean, when she sings Funny Honey, I was obsessed because I was reading the translations, like the Swedish to English translations, and the lyrics in Swedish are brutal. I mean, when she's
Oh,
calling Amos that lapdog man of mine, I couldn't believe it. And the thing about Roxy is that she's all of these things, but she's also so heartbreaking and so vulnerable. And I was wondering for you, how did you find that humanity and that warmth and that pain inside her while still making her a badass bitch?
God, I really struggled with that. I was because I think like I really tried to, because I always before I've done a lot of like young girls being very vulnerable, and like I do look like I do, and I I mean it's I felt like I needed to like really toughen her up to make you believe that she could do all these things. Um, so I think I started like really making her really tough, and I was like, I'm gonna try to make her a psychopath. I'm gonna try to make her no emotions, like really try to uh, I don't know, make her not vulnerable, not feel sorry for it, like really not liking her maybe. Um, and I kind of noticed like maybe that's not the way to go, because I think you need to feel something for it, because she's actually the one that you need to vote for in some kind of way. So what I did, I think, was to like try to make her have like glimpses of like when I talk about when I do the Roxie part, and I talk about, and I do a lot of things, and I change clothes and everything. Is really a lot of things happening when I do the monologue, or what you would call it. And I all of a sudden start to talk about Amos. I really like try to feel like there was something. I did marry him, even though I don't like him anymore. But I did go to him for some reason, and those reasons were probably, for me, I think they were human. Like it was feeling safe, like having someone to love you and take care of you, like all the things that you always need. But she still goes away from, because something in her is not right, I guess. So I think that's what I try to like find glimpses of her being human. And also like if we go back to the time period that we were talking about before, like it's also like with the 20s, and maybe that was like the first time for women to not be as traditional, even though it's, as I mean, we all went back again, and we're all there again, but it was the first, like with the flappers, is the same right word and everything, yeah. That actually took place, that is some kind of revolution, maybe. Yeah, we got the rights to vote everywhere, like not everywhere, but a lot of places. She's trying her wings, and like I mean, a lot of things could have happened to her. I don't know. I in my head, there's probably a lot of things that she repressed to make her just like shoot a man all suddenly, like, because you need to have a why for that. Why does she do it? Like it's not written enough for us to understand that. So yeah, I think that like all like with the history of women, like what they've been through, and like for her, like also being a part of that, being human, and like being a part of being a woman in the 20s, and also seeing this new world of her taking control, maybe.
This was the first time that I've seen a production of Chicago that's not the Broadway production of Chicago. Because you know that production, that revival that started like almost 30 years ago, is the
Yeah.
one that they do almost all over the world, the exact same production. So I mean, I don't, like, I don't know, like, I don't think you could see me specifically the day when I went, but I had like the biggest smile because I was like, oh my God, like, this is so cool. Like, it was, you know, I hope it's not a spoiler, but to see you doing Roxy atop a horse with all the dancers, that was mind blowing. And then
What was it? Oh.
yeah, I texted one of my friends because I was obsessed when you're doing My Baby and Me with actually like the dancers juggling with babies. That was like amazing. So, like going back for a little bit about like your own instrument and like going from something that's almost like a whisper, like going from Bob Dylan music, which are like thoughtful and poetic, and then going to Chicago, which is the ultimate, I think, spectacle. How do you train your voice and your instrument for that? And
Oh.
also, like, I really want to know what's your favorite number to perform? Because all the numbers are about Roxy being like a goddess.
Oh God, I struggled a lot like in the beginning, because I had to like drop my voice a lot. Um, so I think like a lot of my preparation for that was for me to like accept my voice like in a new kind of way, because I'm not used to being that deep. Like some of the songs are really like tough for me to do. So I think like voice wise, I think I had to work like a lot with that. And I mean, I, I come from a dancing background, so for me, being like a showgirl-ish felt very like natural. Like I felt like for me going into being like this power woman felt like I could like work with a lot from me being a mover maybe. Um, so I think like all those things actually like fell into place pretty fast. But I'm also because I think when I go to as how I perform, I think I'm very often very vulnerable. I'm good like with showing emotion and being heavy, like and those kind of. I'm good to. I always been have had easier to like awake those feelings with people. Um, so I mean, I had to like do a lot of like changes in me also to just feel like I owned it, because I think that's every day when I go to work and I feel like I'm having a bad day or something, I need to like reprogram myself, because if I it's a tough role to do when you're not feeling that you're owning it. um, the other show was more like expressing, like being vulnerable, being emotional, being telling this as telling something like from within, and this is much more uh, from deeper down, I guess. So yeah, I think that's the difference, and that's what my preparation has been like, trying to just like shift my energy maybe, and my where to find my power. And my favorite number, oh, that's a hard one. I think it is Roxy, because I really love doing the text before, and playing with the audience, and like it's always like very different, and I think like I get a lot from the audience, and what the song becomes is really much about what I get from the start. And I because I really love that. I really love like breaking the fourth wall and trying to like um get the people involved, even though if they don't want to, I force them, and I try to just like, are you seeing me? And that I really love to do. So I think that's my favorite number. Yeah.
And I mean, that vamp, that piano vamp is like legendary. Like
Yeah.
sometimes I'll confess this, like I will even go around the house just singing the name on everybody's lips is gonna be Jose.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's just like, yeah, just like me being like a musical nerd. So it's so interesting because obviously, like I was originally born in Honduras, but I spent most of my adult life in the US. And now I'm in Europe. Like I've been in Europe for the past 3 years, in Spain, in France, and now in Sweden. And it's always so peculiar to me how audiences are so different in each country and in each society. And I have found that Swedish audiences are very thoughtful and like very reserved. Like sometimes it's like I couldn't figure out, like what people are feeling around me. So as a
Mm.
performer, especially when you're doing that monologue, how do you know when you have like aced it? Like what would you say it takes to make a musical land in Sweden?
I think it's really different from the theaters, actually. I think like the opera house that we're doing Chicago, and has a different audience than the than Stadsteatern that we did Girl from the North, because I don't think that audience would have appreciated that show as much as the other way around. I think we really like have um, we're very divided in Sweden with theater, musical theater, and like dance. We're really like we and opera. We seldom work together. We seldom like go into each other's worlds. And I think like for the opera, for instance, I think like it's very important with the music, because we have the orchestra, um, and so I think like singing, like voices, is very important because it's like an opera house. Yeah, and I mean it's an older audience, so I also think also what this show is with Chicago, I think that's like a perfect show for Malmö Opera House, for instance. But I mean, at the other theater that we did, the Girl from the North Country, it was more. I think you can go more into other things, like less glitz and glams and more heavier things. So yeah, that's a really interesting question, because it's really hard to answer it, because I really think like we have very different point of views in Sweden of what's good and what's not, and it's very scattered. That's like, no, I said that wrong, but yeah.
Like look scattered, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and as we always come into now we're going into something else here, but in Sweden we always have I don't know if we talk about that in the US, but it oh it comes up to something that they say like that musicals are uglier art-ish. I don't know if that's a thing that in any other country, because I've been thinking a lot of it lately, because like for me it's like I did On the Town a couple of years ago, and it was written like I don't know if it was during the Second World War, or if it was like sometime at that, like when people needed to feel happy. So they just made a musical that was very happy and had no like heavy content at all. It was really like just happy, but because people needed that. And for me it's like it's really hard, and it's so weird not to understand that we also need to go, as an art has to be what art has to be for the people going to see it. Like if you just need to be happy, maybe you just need to go see On the Town. And if you really want to feel sad, then you go and see something else. Like it's I kind of just don't understand how that came up, and how it's it's something that we actually talk about. I don't know. We're not talking about it in the musical room, but we know that that's the point of view from other people, also the theater people, and yeah.
And
Uh,
uh, and I mean, you asked me if like that was something that I had seen in other countries, and absolutely, maybe, I've seen so many times people, for instance, who do like straight plays and Ibsen
mm,
and like Chekhov and stuff, and they're like, "Oh, I would never do a musical." And it's like
yeah.
there's this perception in some circles that musicals are, yeah, a lesser art form, that they're shallow. And that's like, I'm like, have you people ever seen like Sondheim? Or have you people ever seen like Chicago, for example? Like Kander and Ebb are perfect examples of, how you can turn merry entertainment and thought. But I want to go back to like the very beginning when you were growing up, before you even started taking dance class in Gothenburg. What were the performances, or what was the art that made you realize that you wanted to be an artist?
Oh, I don't know when I realized. I think that when I really like I want to be an artist, I think that happened later. But I mean, I lived in Tanzania when I was a kid, and we went to this like Swedish school that was just like really small, and we had like dance classes and everything. Like it was really we weren't that many, so we did like a lot of shows, like small performance for the parents and everything. So I think like I was pushed into it very early, because I was 5 when I was there. So and I did like my first solo singing um, Astrid Lindgren. It's very Swedish. Uh, Idas sommarvisa. um, so I mean, I did that really early, and I we had like when I moved back to Sweden, I was 8, and I started taking dance classes. Like we had like a small, because I'm from a small part, a small village, I would say, outside of Gothenburg. It's like 1 hour, but we had like a dance school that was really like as a really good, like the first owner was like a dancer that's been working like through all Sweden, like in the 70s and 80s and stuff, and then she went home and like built this dance school, and we got to do like a lot of things in Gothenburg. We did all the Gothia Cup, how do you say, invigning. What's it called in English? I don't know. But it was just like we had a lot of performances. We got to do like a lot. I had a lot of stage. I was very used to be on stage at an early age. So I mean, I think like I was just like put in it, and I kind of like during the time I understood that I had some kind of talent for it, and I think that pushed me. And I had like a lot of people. I always feel like I always built my career by people believing in me, and not as much as me believing in myself. Because I always like asked everyone, "Do you really think that I can do this?" And if they said yes, then I went to the other step, and the other step, and I pushed myself. I always like been very hard on myself and like pushing myself to things, but I think I just like it started and then it just went and it just continued, and then I took like when I really took the step to like I'm gonna do this. It was like after high school. It must be then gymnasiet. I think it's high school in the US when I went to ballet academy. That's why when I kind of like, okay, now I'm doing this. But I just always done it, I think, in some way.
Have you found like any rituals or any like mindfulness practices to like help you get over that? Because like like for our listeners, like imposter syndrome, I think for every human being it's something that we all experience, but for a performer it must be something a little bit more daunting, I guess, because you have to go on stage. So how do you
Yeah,
get over that?
I don't know. I think I talk a lot. As I talk a lot with my friends and my makeup. Amelie has to hear a lot of my all my thoughts of now I think I'm gonna be something else. I'm gonna do something else. Next year I'm gonna go to school again. And like I think I talk a lot to make myself to hear myself being ridiculous. Because then I can like as a some way like make myself understand that it's in my head maybe. I try to not make it too serious maybe. uh, Sometimes that works. Sometimes I need to like I don't know. I don't have any practice of how to get rid of it. I would say less than like breathing exercises for stress and things like other stuff like everything goes together in a way, but not those things. I think I just like go through maybe. And like knowing that I'm not alone also. I like when I talk to my friends about it, you always notice that everyone has it, like especially in this business, like one day you're in and one day you're out. It's like you're always um working for the next big thing, and you never know when it's gonna end. Like, oh, very sad when I talk about it now. It feels like
But I
um,
mean, like the next big thing for you is gonna be come from away. Like you're gonna be going from Minnesota to Chicago to Newfoundland in Canada. And Come From Away is like one of my favorite musicals of all time.
yeah.
It's so beautiful. And I'm curious, like being in that part of the world, at least on stage, has that changed in any way, the kinds of stories that you want to tell in the future?
I think because we're very used, and especially me, I'm very used. I mean, I'm POC, so uh, I'm used to doing American things. Like it's mostly that with what I'm doing. I mean, there are some Swedish musicals that are really big now, like with Änglagård Så som i himlen is as like all Europe is doing it, and then you have Kristina von Duvemåla, and but I also think that all the time that we go that way, they also always do it very traditional. The music is very Swedish traditional. Like you can always hear like the folk music in it, and I don't think that's my genre. I think like I'm better at doing like soul and jazz, and because that's what my voice and my appearance is more as a closer to. So I mean, I'm happy for the American musicals. I don't think I think it's just gonna be harder for me to get a role in it, and I don't know if that's um what I'm giving. I don't know if that's what they would want in those kind of musical. If they don't decide to do something completely different at one point, that would suit me perfectly. But otherwise, it's hard. Sometimes it's because with Chicago, for instance, I don't think what I think is more natural for you, that you kind of, because it's your culture, you know, like all about the right system and everything. I don't think the Swedish audience is understanding that in the same way if you're not you don't also read a lot about it or see all the documentaries that I do, like with I don't think that kind of like is something that it comes natural for the audience. So it's a lot of things it's hard for us to do because it's so cultural. But we manage in some way, but I don't think like we're telling the same story all the time. As I mean, I don't think we ever could do Hamilton. I don't know how the Swedish audience would understand it, for instance.
Like if we were, one last thing that I want to ask you is like if we, if you close your eyes and dream and you were able to manifest dream roles that you haven't played yet, who are those characters that you're dying to play at some point?
Yeah, I actually yesterday I had like this because they're doing West Side Story, and I'm going to see it in Copenhagen, and I always felt like I want to do Anita. That's like a really, I say, it's just a great role. It has everything. So I would love to do that. Let's see. I always been very like careful with dreaming too much because we don't get those many chances in Sweden, because you kind of like they do West Side Story and then they do West Side Story 7 years later, and so it's like you have to hop on the train. So I always feel like it's very dangerous to dream because you might not get the chance to even like try for it. But now I'm really I would really want. I haven't seen it because I haven't been in England or London or in the US for a long time. But I would really love to do Hadestown because I just love the music, like the New Orleans sound and like the darkness and everything. I would just want to be in that show when it comes to Sweden, because I think it's gonna come. When I saw Book of Mormon in the US in New York, I was like, I want to do Naboluga. So I think like that is also like, it's just a fun show to do, and it's really like the song is just I love the songs that she does. Like it's really good for my voice. That's what I can come up with now. I would also know. Okay, Les Miserables. I would love to do. I might say it wrong now. Eponine is the one that does On My Own. No, this is bad.
No,
I
it's
was
Eponine who does On My
yeah.
Own. Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
God. I would like to do that too.
Well, I dreamed the dream, right?
Yeah,
I mean that's Fantine, but anyway, like I was gonna say, like a cheesy way to say it, like you dream the dream, and like I hope we can dream this dream along with you because I would love to
yeah,
see you playing all of those characters. And Leila, it
yeah.
has been such a pleasure talking to you. Congratulations on Roxie Hart. You are kicking ass on stage, and I cannot wait to see more of your work.
Thank you.